In a world where fantasy football has taken over the land, two unlikely heroes will arise. They call themselves the Fantasy Football Apocalypse. But who are they?
Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy. Trent and Jeremy, yes, they are the boys. When it comes to fantasy advice, they got the noise. One's a little loud, and he's far from cautious. His voice alone will turn your stomach nauseous. MC number 2, well, it's just not that simple. Some would even question that he's borderline mental. These two combined will try to be funny, but their main goal is to try to make you money.
Oh, yes! Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is time for another edition of the Fantasy Football Apocalypse. I am Trent Scott. That is Jeremy Scott.
Good to be here, Trent. Fantasy football is not my favorite thing right now. However, it's still fun, I guess. But we are here, and we will help you with your picks. They are getting extremely apocalyptic right now, which you're going to see. It's just getting tough because so many guys are performing so well, we can't even pick them anymore.
Yeah, we've had a lot of players graduate from the apocalyptic ranks this year. So it's every week it gets harder and harder to find these diamonds in the rough that we try to give you guys.
Yeah, it's getting extremely hard, but goes to show that we definitely do our research and present it in a way that these players excel. I mean, we picked DeAndre Hopkins last year.
Yeah, now he is the we were actually talking about this before we started the show. DeAndre Hopkins is now the highest priced wide receiver on FanDuel.
Still unbelievable to me.
It's crazy how far he's come.
Yeah, he looks dang good though. I mean, he's matchup proof, and especially when he's got that gunslinger penis head himself throwing him the ball. Brian Hoyer has looked incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Hoyer is absolutely on fire, and I really wouldn't have thought I would be saying that sentence, but that's the world we're living in right now. Brian Hoyer's good again. DeAndre Hopkins is the best wide receiver in the NFL. The whole world has tilted on its axis.
And Bernie Sanders actually has a legitimate shot to become president. What is going on in America right now?
Actually, that reminds me. Did you see your boy Larry David on SNL playing Bernie Sanders?
No, but I will look that up after this. That sounds
hilarious. It was pretty great. It was a recreation of the Democratic debate with Larry David playing Bernie Sanders.
No. Did he host?
No, Alec Baldwin was the host. Alec Baldwin played Jim West. It was a very fun. Yeah, I watched it yesterday. It's very funny.
Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. I will look that up right after this. Back to football. Trent, I have a question to ask you. You asked me one last week. I think it's more than fair for me to ask you one this week. And I want you to think about it. Put some thought. Is Peyton Manning done?
I think absolutely he's done. I mean, yeah, I get it. The Broncos are 6-0, and anyone that knows me knows I've always touted, wins are the most important metric to measure quarterbacks by. But I think in this particular case, it is very evident that the Broncos are not winning because of Peyton Manning. They're winning in spite of him. Like, this isn't even like an Alex Smith type situation where he's just kind of guiding the team like Smith has done with the 49ers and Chiefs in recent years. This is Peyton Manning actively hurting the team and then being able to fight through it. I mean, Manning, 3 more interceptions this week. He's now up to 7 touchdowns to 10 interceptions this year.
Ugh.
It's not good.
This brings the next question. Does John Elway and the Broncos, do they reach out to Tim Tebow? I mean, this is a legitimate question, as he has had some recent success in Denver. Winning percentages, like you said, is how we judge a quarterback. And I mean, I think it's a legitimate. They should reach out to Tim Tebow give Timothy a call and see if he's ready for a tryout. Because, he is outplaying Peyton Manning in Denver the last time they were both
Let me
there.
clear my throat here so I can give this answer properly. Tebow!
I forgot about that.
Look, Peyton Manning is bad. Tim Tebow is not the answer, but that is a story for another day.
All right. Let's get to the picks, Trent.
So, yeah, I was about to say, let's get to the picks because, as bad as things are going in your real fantasy team, you finally got a win last week against me.
Well, what am I now? 2-4?
2-4 heads up against me this year.
Well, now that we actually get to pick apocalyptic picks and you can't pick, like DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones and you can't pick big guys like that. It's leveled the playing field, and it just really shows who the better fantasy selector is.
I scored 138 points a month ago with Jordan Reed, Joseph Randle, Dion Lewis, and Amari Cooper on my team. So I don't want to hear it.
Oh, by the way, listeners, Trent was begging me to allow him to do Dion Lewis, and I'm like, he scored double digits in every single game except one. He is a must-start every single
I'm
week.
just saying we agreed to a $7,000 price tag, and he cost $7,000.
Agreed. But Latavius Murray and what's his name are $7,000, so they're must-starts every week. Anyway, picks. What were the standout picks?
Standout picks, I didn't have a great week personally, but Blake Bortles did tremendous as my quarterback. He scored 22. I believe I am the first person this year, though, to pick a 0-point effort, although you did have Ladarius Green a while back, but he wound up not playing. My guy, Melvin Gordon, did play and still scored 0.
He sucks. That guy is not good. He is the exact opposite of Todd Gurley.
I'm very disappointed in Melvin Gordon. I thought he was going to be in the better situation of the two running backs, and that's just not the case. Looking at your team, Jay Cutler, solid 19, 20 apiece from your Jaguars, Allen Robinson and Julius Thomas, and then 18 from Dante Moncrief. Not all of your picks were great, though, Jeremy, because Karma Chameleon West only had 2.
Yeah, the old Charmander experiment really backfired, but I haven't ruled him out yet. That was just a tough defensive matchup for the Chiefs. I still think he'll be okay. He's definitely going to be the better in that backfield, but he's not going to be on Jamal Charles' level.
Yeah, I think that's pretty evident. After 1 week, we can give up any hopes of your $82 investment paying off the way you wanted
go
it
big
to.
Or go home, and I'm going home.
Oh, man. All right, let's get into this week.
Let's do it. I have the honors, so I will go first. My pick of the week is a guy who's more than likely going to play. If he doesn't, I have a backup pick. I'm going with Tyrod Taylor. The guy's been nothing short of phenomenal this year. He's the Black Dalton, if you want to look at it that way.
I don't see color. I'm sorry.
Neither do Star Wars fans. But I think Tyrod has a big week. He's got a nice, juicy matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who give up a ton of points to quarterbacks. We saw what E.J. Manuel was able to do. Tyrod Taylor is better than him. The Buffalo Bills offense just looks good. It's weird, but it looks good.
I got some concerns about Tyrod. First off, he is coming back from an injury, so even if he does play, we don't really know how close to 100% he's going to be. On top of that, Carlos Williams may or may not play. LaShawn McCoy, he did finally have a good game this week, but he hasn't really been that great this year. And more importantly than all of that, Sammy Watkins left the field on crutches last week, and he is their top wide receiver. So,
Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is horrible.
He's still their number one receiver. So
Charles Clay is number 1.
He's a tight end. The point is, though, I've got some major reservations about Tyrod this week.
And understandably so. My backup pick is a guy I'm sure you also have. questions about, but is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Been playing well as of late, and Decker and Brandon Marshall look good. I mean, they're really, really performing well. New England is not a good defense, so I think look for them to put up some points this week.
Eric Decker must be the happiest man in the NFL this year that Brandon Marshall showed up into town, because last year had to be such a miserable experience for Eric Decker as an individual. So the fact that he finally has a partner to help him, I think really makes him better. But I mean, as far as Ryan Fitzpatrick goes, like, do I really even need to address what the issues with Ryan Fitzpatrick are? Everyone out there
Fear
listening,
the beard, baby. Fear the
he's
beard.
not James Harden. Everyone out there listening to this show knows why not to pick Ryan Fitzpatrick, so I'm not even going to bother going into that.
My picks are hot. I'm Donald Trump. Vote for me. Look at the polls. Trent, who's your quarterback?
My quarterback this week, I'm going to go with a guy who absolutely lit it up last week. How about Matt Stafford at only $7,400? He's coming off a 4-touchdown game. Actually, he even ran for 37 yards last week, if you can believe that. Him and Megatron appear to be back in sync. Stafford is a guy that we all know has all the physical tools in the world. It's just a matter of him performing, and it looks like maybe he's turning the corner right now. So I'm going with Stafford.
You know, the only thing I don't like is the matchup. Minnesota's a very good defense. They don't get a whole lot of love, but they're top 10 across the board. So they're a very good defense. Now, they are playing at home, so that bodes well, but we'll see what happens. I could see Stafford really struggling this week, but he did look very good, although it was the Bears, one of the worst defenses in the league. But it is Matt Stafford. Once upon a time, he threw 41 touchdowns and 5,000 yards.
All right, so let's move on to running backs then. Jeremy, who's going to be your RB of the week?
My running back of the week, I am going with Danny Woodhead. Now, running backs, Trent, I would say probably are the thinnest position for us to pick right now. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really, you'll see when we get to my second running back how thin things have gotten at the RB position when it comes to the apocalypse.
Oof, very thin. But anyway, I'm going with Woodhead. Melvin Gordon is injured, and I don't think he's playing this week. Is he?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, well, regardless, that's just one less running back. Brandon Oliver is, he's all right, but Woodhead is going to be the guy in that backfield. But even more importantly than that, I like Danny Woodhead this week because he's got a good matchup, and I think he's gonna get a lot of catches. I mean, they're gunslinging. Phillip Rivers is playing out of his mind right now. I think Woodhead gets in the end zone against the Raiders this week.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, like you said, Phillip Rivers is just throwing the ball all over the place. I think he had 65 attempts on Sunday, threw for 500 yards. And now they get the Raiders at home. There should definitely be a lot of scoring in that game, I would imagine. I don't have much of an issue with the Woodhead pick.
Well, Trent, who is your running back pick of the week?
Again, like you were kind of saying, it's very tough, but I'm going to go with Lamar Miller, the Dolphins running back. Finally had a good game last week. There were pretty big expectations for him this year that he hasn't really lived up to, but he did run for over 100 yards last week. And this week the Dolphins get to take on the Houston Texans, who have a very disappointing defense. So I'm going to roll the dice on Lamar Miller.
I like Lamar Miller a lot. I don't like his matchup this week as much as others, but I like Lamar Miller. I know he's got talent. Joe Philbin just would not give him the ball. We were talking about it before the show. I mean, he's a great running back. He doesn't have the backing until now. But he does have a pretty solid matchup this week. So I like Lamar Miller. I think that's a solid pick.
All right, well, let's see if your next pick is solid then. Who do you got?
It's not. Jonathan Stewart. This guy is the most frustrating fantasy player probably in the history of the game. Well, aside from, Eddie Lacy, Peyton Manning, guys like that. But he goes off for 21 points against the Seahawks, who their defense is struggling in itself, but he's just it's who knows? It's a toss-up, but it's getting so thin. He's a great cheap option to have against Philadelphia's defense this week.
I'm not sure the word Jonathan Stewart and great has been used in the same sentence for some time now.
Since he left YMCA football.
I don't understand. I've been burned by him twice this year. On paper, everything about Jonathan Stewart's situation says he should be good. On the field, he is not, however. So I am absolutely staying away from Jonathan Stewart. I've learned my lesson on that one.
He'll get double digits this week. Now, Trent, give us your final running back pick, because I know the listeners are going to love this.
So, we were talking about how thin running backs are. And as I looked at the options, I struggled and struggled and struggled to come up
for days.
With a running back. And as I was struggling, I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling further and further down the FanDuel rankings.
What is this, a Dr. Seuss introduction?
Until finally a name popped out at me. Averaging a jaw-dropping 0.25 points a game. But
oh, man.
He is finally, we think, going to get an opportunity to play. I'm going with Christine Michael of the Dallas Cowboys, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, and before that, of the Texas A&M Aggies, but I guess I can't hold that against him. We all make dumb decisions. We all make dumb decisions when we're young, so I can't hold that against him.
Like Malik Jefferson.
So, look, Christine Michael, everyone knows what DeMarco Murray did last year. Now, I'm not saying I expect Christine Michael to come anywhere near that kind of production, but the Cowboys do have a good offensive line. Joseph Randle has been good in spots, although as a whole he's been very disappointing. And that's why Michael's getting this opportunity, because the Cowboys believe in their offensive line. And if they're right, then Michael should be able to produce, and we'll see what happens.
I'm sure all the listeners are just pulling their hair and teeth out and waiting for me to bash you. But I'm going to agree with you. I've been holding this guy all year on and off in different leagues, just waiting for them to give him a chance, because he is the most skilled running back by far in that backfield. He runs hard, he's athletic, he's young, he's got experience, he was great at Texas A&M, he was a 5-star recruit. He's been good for a while. I think he might have an attitude problem, is a big reason why he hasn't got a big chance. But that's pure speculation, just based on what I saw at A&M and in the NFL. But if he's given the opportunity and he's getting free reign, like they said, they're going to take the reins off him, he will succeed. That's a giant if, though, because they still have Joseph Randle. McFadden I'm not too worried about. He's definitely the passing, the pass catcher. But if Christian Michael can get into his zone, he's going to take over that job.
All right, so let's move on to wide receivers. Jeremy, of course, you have the honor. So who's your start of the week here?
Steve Smith. The guy is unbelievable. He literally has a broken back, and he went off last week. He is the only guy Joe Flacco has to throw to, and he really likes to throw to him. So I'm going to continue to ride that streak. Steve Smith is playing like a wide receiver 1. I have no idea why he's so cheap. But this is a week where you can really take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's funny because 2 years ago, everyone thought he was done his last year in Carolina. Comes back last year, gets over 1,000 yards with the Ravens as their second receiver behind Torrey Smith. Now he is their only wide receiver. Like you said, last week, just a huge game. 7 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown. He appears somehow to be, fighting off his age. He is 37 years old now. which for a wide receiver that relies on his speed, the fact that he can still produce is kind of insane. So Smith is having a great year. This week, the Ravens get to take on the Arizona Cardinals. That is a tough matchup. It is in Arizona. So I could really see this one going either way. It's really a toss-up.
Yeah, agree, because sometimes the Arizona secondary looks like the best in the league, and then other times it's like, what the heck? What are you guys even doing? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I know what you're saying.
All right, Trent, who is your wide receiver pick of the week?
All right, so my wide receiver pick of the week played his first game of the season last week and absolutely erupted. Martavis Bryant of the Pittsburgh Steelers scores 2 touchdowns, which, if you guys remember, this is exactly what happened last year, his rookie year, too. He is a touchdown-scoring machine. I saw Mike Tomlin today did say that they are moving away from Michael Vick. Landry Jones will be the starter if Ben Roethlisberger can't go. I feel much better about that because I don't trust Michael Vick as a passer anymore. So having either Jones or Roethlisberger, I think, helps Bryant even more. So I really like Martavis Bryant.
Yeah, I really can't argue that. I felt like Martavis would have a very good season coming into this with Big Ben. He proved that he doesn't even need Big Ben. And this is going to hurt Antonio Brown. I mean, significantly. He's still going to get his, but it's going to be more like the 20 a week instead of 30 a week that he was getting before Martavis came here. But I like the pick, Trent. I think he's going to have a good week.
All right, cool. So let's hear your next wide receiver pick then.
I'm going John Brown. Those that know me and most of you listening know I just am not a John Brown guy. He's proven that he is a good fit with Carson Palmer. He's definitely the deep threat. But most importantly, Baltimore's secondary is horrible. They're the second worst in the league, and the Cardinals are just going to abuse them this week. And like you said, it's in Arizona. I could see the Cardinals getting up pretty big pretty early here. I like John Brown a lot this week.
Yeah, it's good to see our old high school athletic director has moved on to a solid second career here as a wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals.
Even after blowing his knee out in that pickup basketball game. It's incredible.
Yeah, so, he had a really big game last week. I almost picked him up as a free agent in one of my leagues. Now I missed out on that opportunity, and he had, 199 yards last week.
What are there, 6 people in that league?
There's 12, but, 8 of them are dumb. So, like you said, John Brown has been pretty good. The Ravens have not been very good. So, yeah, I like John Brown quite a bit more than I liked your other wide receiver.
Well, thanks, man. Good to hear. Trent, give us your second pick and final wide receiver pick of the week.
All right. Here's the thing.
I love when you have to preface the picks.
Because here's the deal. The guy I'm picking here, people thought he had a legitimate shot at being a top 10 fantasy wide receiver to start the year. And he has not been anywhere near that. And I realize that. And because of that, when players underperform like that, people just want to completely cast them off to the side. But you just have to reevaluate what their value is. Brandon Cooks is not the wide receiver one that everyone hoped he would be. But he's still a viable option as a flex player. And that's the kind of guy that I'm looking at here because they're playing the Indianapolis Colts, who do not have a very good defense. It should be a high-scoring game. The Saints and Colts, it might take 31 points to win that game. So I expect a lot of passing. I get it, Drew Brees isn't what he used to be. And that's fine. He doesn't have to be because Brandon Cooks can be a Julian Edelman type where he gets 8 catches for 80 yards, but he scores a touchdown. So I'm going with Cooks right now.
I don't even know if it's that Breeze is not what he used to be. He has nobody to throw to. Think about it. He had Jimmy Graham, Marcus Colston, and Kenny Stills. Before that, he's had Lance Moore. Who was that other deep threat who used to go? Henderson. Something Henderson.
Devery.
Devery Henderson. He had I mean, he had a pretty good arsenal of running backs, and then he had Sproles. He had Sproles in the running backs, so he just has nobody to throw to. That being said, I hate Brandon Cooks. I am a big matchup guy, so I do like his matchup. I think Willie Snead's the better wide receiver in New Orleans, personally, and heck, Benjamin Watson is coming onto the scene the last 3 weeks. So I don't know. It's to me it's high risk, low reward, but there's definitely some reward with it. But I don't know. I'm out on Cooks.
All right. Well, you were talking about Benjamin Watson there. Do you want to keep talking about him?
I might as well. My tight end pick of the week is Benjamin Watson. Tight ends are pretty thin. They just continue to get thinner because people like Barnridge are now off limits, and Gates, guys like that. But we're going with Benjamin Watson. He's looked very good. Drew Brees likes to throw him the ball, and he's coming off a 10-catch, 127-yard touchdown game. Before that, he had a touchdown. So he's back-to-back games that are looking good, and again, it's going to be high scoring. So, I don't know if Indy's going to be able to stop whoever the receiver is that Drew Brees chooses. I think they're going to have a big game. So,
Benjamin Watson is like 87 years old. He was on the Patriots' last championship team, not the one that won it this year. No, the one that won it 10 years ago. He's been around forever. He's never had more than 700 yards in a season. He had 127 yards last week. That, to me, was the flukiest game. I mean, he had 136 all of last year, and he had 127 last week.
Well, Jimmy Graham was in Seattle last year.
What? You mean New Orleans?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you know what I mean. He was in New Orleans.
No, you said Seattle. You're an idiot.
You're right. I'm wrong.
But look, to me, there's just absolutely no way that what we saw last week was a realistic version of Benjamin Watson. I think the law of average is going to come down quite hard on Mr. Watson. And
now, before you continue bashing Benjamin Watson, let's hear who's a better pick. Please let us know your tight end pick of the week.
I'd rather just make fun of yours, to be perfectly honest.
I think you're just as good as not picking someone this week.
All right, I guess I should give my pick. And again, like Jeremy said, this is such a thin position. I would strongly recommend not using either one of our options, but this is the position to splurge on. This is where you go get Gronk. This is where you go get Greg Olsen. Don't use either one of our picks. But for the sake of the show, I had to pick someone. So here's where I went. I'm picking Jared Cook of the St. Louis Rams. Look, I get it.
We now have no more listeners. They've all checked out and checked themselves into a mental institution.
I get it. He had one catch last week. But
what about the week before that?
But he had 6 targets. Nick Foles has struggled the last couple weeks, but I do still think Nick Foles is a legitimate starting quarterback in the league. More importantly, though, they are playing the Cleveland Browns. I don't think the Browns are a very good defense. They keep giving up 30 points every week. Now, the Browns' offense is better than people expected, but their defense is still very poor. And so as long as Nick Foles is going to target him, 6 times, he can perform.
No,
he really can't. He really can't.
No, he can't. I wanted to hear your justification because I just wanted to hear how basically full of ish you are. Jared Cook sucks. Benjamin Watson absolutely will outperform him, and I'm gonna win. And I'm gonna win the $100.
Well, you're still down 2 games in our head-to-head battle. So even if Jared Cook cost me this week, I still am guaranteed to have the lead.
That is true, my friend. But that is all of our picks for the week. It's getting thinner But as far as FanDuel, that's what we're here. We're the fantasy football apocalypse, so we got to make apocalyptic picks.
What was that? It?
Well, I thought you were going to chime in and say, "Hey, you got any parting words for us?"
It seemed like you were doing that on your own. Hey, Jeremy, you got any parting words for us?
Well, now that I haven't had time to think about it, stay away from Joe. We'll see you guys next week.